Oh, girl, I have been waiting to talk to you about this. I have been the end of Empire of Storms sends me into some kind of fugue state. So I've been ready.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy for sure. And I was like, do I have enough emotional bandwidth for the rest of the series? I'm like, it's crazy. There's so much going on.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. I can't wait to get into it. I
Mm.
cannot wait to get into it. Hello everyone. Welcome. We are going to review Empire of Storms from the Throne of Glass series. I'm Katie.
And I'm Yarlin.
And this is Fae and Fables, a podcast hosted by two mental health counselors who take a psych deep dive into your favorite fantasy and romantasy books.
Yeah, so we will start off with our disclaimers and spoiler warnings. So please note this episode contains spoilers for books 1 through 5 of Throne of Glass series by Sarah J. Maas, including Throne of Glass, Crown of Midnight, Heir of Fire, Assassin's Blade, Queen of Shadows, and Empire of Storms. Additionally, several potentially triggering emotional and or traumatic themes may be discussed, which could be impactful or upsetting. Please take care of yourself and use caution if you're not in a space to engage with these conversations. Our mental health disclaimer is that this podcast is hosted by two licensed mental health counselors, but it should not be used to diagnose, treat, or address any individual mental health concerns or conditions. The knowledge, opinions, and experiences we express related to mental health are our own and should not be applied as treatment. This is just for fun. If you feel you need mental health treatment, please seek out your own individualized mental health care. The order of events on how today's episode will go will be our rankings and ratings, where we will provide our ratings for the book, plots and thoughts analysis, where Katie will lead us through the events of the book itself, while I guide us in better understanding the psychology of the characters along the way, some teehee moments, our therapy deep dive, where I'll expand on to like the real world context and lead our exploration of mental health concepts, future thoughts and theories, and our final reminders and social media shout out.
Yeah, I'm giddy. I'm absolutely giddy about this. Do we want to start with our rankings and our ratings?
Yeah.
Yarlin, what did you Star and Chili Pepper rate this one?
So I know this will be surprising for you, at least, Katie,
Mm,
but I
mm,
gave this a 4 stars.
mm.
The events in the book and everything going on is like, very intense, crazy, like super great,
Mm.
like story and plot and stuff. I think there's just like something where I didn't feel like a 5 star, for me for some reason.
Okay.
Um, and I gave it a 2 in chili pepper. Like we did have a step up in spice, and I feel like in these last few books, I'm sure it'll be better than the first books, but still not like crazy stuff.
Mm, I see what you mean. I really struggled with chili peps, whether to do the 2 or the 3 star.
Yeah.
I went with 3 chili peppers because I saw not 1 but 2 peppers.
Oh, that's right.
So I was like, do I do a 2.5? I get that in the scheme of the books we reviewed, it is not a lot, but like for
Yeah.
this, it felt
I
like a lot.
wanted to do 2.5, but I'm like, we don't do half star ratings, so I'm just gonna give it a 2. I don't want to like overrate something that I feel like the 3 just wasn't right for me.
Yeah. And here's the thing. You've been reading full spice
Oh
in other
yeah.
arenas. I've been out here with my YA and my Dungeon Crawler Carl.
Oh
That's
yeah.
like
Did you finish
it's
it?
not yet. I'm like I want to say 2 hours from the end of it, and shockingly, I'm like really enjoying it.
Really?
Yeah, I was
Okay.
prepared to feel kind of ambivalent about it and just be like, yeah, it was fine. But so it's this guy named Carl and his cat named Princess Donut, and they go
Hmm.
through like basically a video game type alien invasion, and it's
Wow.
kind of funny. It's not my usual style. It's probably not something I would
Yeah.
read all the time, but enjoyed. So anyway, I'm reading Dungeon Crawler Carl, where it's like about a dude and his cat and they're fighting monsters. No spice. And I'm in
Right.
the
Yeah.
YA space, very little spice. So I think I'm just I'm primed for it. I'm like ready. So I'm like, okay, I'll throw it a 3. But I was close to a 2, between a 2 and a 3.
Okay.
Star rating 5.
Yeah.
This series, these last 3 books, it's like I'm locked in. I'm in it. My heart is
Mm.
just full of emotions about this. So it was a 5-star for me. And reading it for the third time, or second or third time, only increased my enjoyment of it. Because I could, when I read something the first time, I don't know if this happens for you, like I will speed run it because I'm so excited and I want to know what happens.
Yeah.
This time I could really slow down and be like, oh, okay, I see how this is all coming together now.
I felt that way with an Anathema by Carrie Lake. I really enjoyed that book, but I definitely feel like I want to reread it. That one and the One
Hmm.
Dark Window duology,
Yeah.
where I'm like, I felt like I read it, and I'm like, I kind of want to, especially because like the second book of the Eating Wood series, which is the Anathema, the
Hmm.
second book came out, and I feel like I want to reread the first one to read the second one.
I feel like in general, for me to really remember the like intricate details of a book, I need a second read. The first
Yeah.
read is just like vibes and fun. Like
Yeah.
I'm
Because it was a
and
while
I
ago when I read it too, so
yeah. So it's like I need to a second read to be like, oh, there's the little things that I missed the first time. So
yeah.
now read number 3, I'm picking it up. I'm picking up things that I had never seen. I'm putting the dots together. It's all happening.
Yeah.
So with that said, let's get into it. Let's get into the
Our
details of
plots and
this,
thoughts.
our plots and our thoughts. And this week, I figure we can start with a perspective that's not Aelin. Usually I start with Aelin and I kind of integrate everyone, but I'm going to start with Elide and Lorcan this week because eventually Elide and Lorcan cross over with the other characters. So I'm going to like give us the beginning arcs of characters that are in other places and then
Mhm.
integrate them into sort of the mega arc when they all get together.
Okay.
So, a lead Lockin, excuse me. I almost said Larkin, Lockin, and Lorcan Salvatore are working for this caravan. If you remember, they were looking for some kind of job that would get them from where they were across the Acanthus River toward the border with Terrasen so that a lead could run up to Terrasen to Aelin. Little did they know Aelin is not there, but they don't know this at this point. They think they're heading there. So they're working for the caravan, and Lorcan is working throwing knives and doing little knife shows, and Elide is working as a fortune teller, which both plays to their strengths. But Lorcan is killing it at the caravan game. One, he's just
He's
hot.
doing
He's
this
hot.
the swords and
Oh yeah, he's throwing
knives or whatever.
swords. Yeah. And they oil him up too, so he's hot, he's oiled up, he's huge, and he's great with swords. And for
Okay.
all of those reasons, the women of the towns roll up and they're like, "Oh my god, Lorcan, hey!" And let me tell you something. Lorcan could not give a shit about it. Like he is not a performer. He's
Hmm.
not eating this up. He's like, he's just so good at swords that he's like, ugh, fine, I'll do it because we have to
Yeah.
do this. But he's not enjoying it as much as I think the ladies of all the towns of wherever and Elide are. And so after a performance one day, he's throwing his knives and he ends up he's getting all the like adulations or whatever. Who should fly in but 4 of the Ilkin, and they are looking for a lead because a lead has magical blood in her bloodline. She also has witch blood, and Vernon Locken, her uncle, and Erewhon, i.e. Duke Perrington, but now Erewhon,
Mhm.
are thinking that she's going to be a really good breeder for Valg princes. And so they're looking for her. Also, she's got the word key with her. She doesn't quite know what she has in her possession, but she's also got that. And so they all roll up. She tries to hide. She's like, I got to make a dash. And very helpfully, Lorcan kills all of them. One Ilkin gets away, or No, I think in this instance they all die. Um, and after that, Lorcan confronts a lead because Lorcan had kind of left one of the Ilkin alive for a little bit and was like, "Why the hell are you here?"
Mm.
And the Ilkin said, "We're looking for a lead Lockin." So Lorcan is like, "Who is this girl? Who is this girl?"
Right, because she had used her mom's name, so he only knew her as like I
Uh
forgot.
huh.
It's like an M name.
Marion, her
Marion.
mother's name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Lorcan is putting two and two together and he's pissed. And he goes and confronts her about it, and they have a little bit of an angry back and forth, but ultimately they share some things with each other that are a little vulnerable. Alid reveals her past and her journey in imprisonment up to that point, like in the tower in Paranth, and then when she was taken to Morath. And Lorcan reveals his story and his blood bond with Maeve. They both and what they have in common is they both really don't have friends or family to claim. They're both quite lonely, and they start to recognize that they could be there for one another, and they start making some promises to each other about not leaving one another, or being there for each other. Um and so they're like, okay, they've got a little bit of a bond built. There's a little bit more honesty between them. They go into a town and they're like, it's time to figure out where Aelin is specifically. Um, why Lorcan's helping with all of that is yet to be seen. Perhaps an emotional connection, maybe. Um, but they find out that she's not in Terrasen and that she's in the south somewhere. And they collectively guess Eelway. So Lorcan and Alid set their sights for Eelway on like an elevated guess about where they might be. Well, trouble's stirring among the caravan people because they saw Lorcan kill all those Ilkin, and he was good at it. He was too fucking good at it to be some town bumpkin guy. He's obviously a soldier of some kind. And the caravan people, who are narcs, go to the town garrison and are like, yo, I think we've got some people here that are like more than who they say they are. So a garrison comes for them, but they escape. Um, and they go on this boat, and the lead tells the boat driver, "We won't kill you." And then Morgan immediately kills the boat driver. So, like, literally, she's like, "You'll be fine. We won't kill you." And then he does it, and he's like, "Well, I didn't promise that I wouldn't kill him. You promised that you
Right.
wouldn't kill him." So they have a fight, and during this fight, Lorcan realizes that a lead has a word key, and he is enraged because he finally realizes he can feel the word key and what that feels like. And he thinks he's been carrying a word key this whole time, and he
Mm.
hasn't. So he realizes he has a fake key, and he's like, he busts open the fake amulet of Orinth, and he goes to Elite. He's like, now I'm going to personally escort your ass to Aelin because, and he doesn't say this part, he's like, I'm going to fucking kill her. Like, this bitch set me up, and now it's time to pay for all that trickery. So they go into another town to get info about Aelin's whereabouts, and who should roll up but Vernon and Ilkin. Just the Ilkin was not enough to get her, so now Vernon is rolling up with the Ilkin to try and kidnap a lead. And they essentially set a trap for her, and they're dragging her out of the tavern and toward this iron box that they're going to put her in to fly her away. And Alid makes up her mind that there is no version of this reality where she's going back to Morath to be used as some kind of tool. She thinks to herself, I would rather die than be put in that iron box and taken back to Morath. So she steals a knife off of Vernon and is about to, like, what is that? The samurai death. There's a name for the samurai death where you like
Mm.
put a sword in your own gut. She's
I don't know what it's
about,
called.
I don't either. Yeah, and I'm not even going to attempt it because I don't want to. So, but she's about to do something of that style and run run a large knife or a sword through her body, so that she doesn't have to go. And at the last second, Lorcan knocks the knife out of her hand. They both fight the Ilkin. He fights, get a lot and helps her a lot, but she also like bashes one of the Ilkin in. Like, she's not a passive player in that. They fight the Ilkin and they win, and one of the Ilkin carrying Vernon flies away back to safety.
Yeah. I did look up the samurai death. It's called seppuku
Seppuku.
or
Yes, that's exactly it.
harakiri.
Yeah.
Was
That's I
performed to
watched
die with honor rather than face defeat or shame, or like
yes.
being captured and stuff like that.
I watched The Last Samurai, I think, which I'm sure has its issues, but there are um they perform seppuku, I think, in that movie. I
Mm.
watched it a long time ago, so I'm like pulling that knowledge out of the crevice of my mind.
I can't remember
But
if
it's
I've
what it
watched it
reminded me of.
before. I feel like I have, maybe. I don't know. But, that kind of act that Elite tried to do is like assertion of her autonomy, a big moment for her to, make the decision that she really doesn't want to go through what she went through before, go to Morath or anything like that. So psychologically, it shows that she refuses to be objectified or controlled, even if under duress. Her self-worth is being asserted, so she's finally being able to make that decision for herself. And um, you know it reveals her trauma from Morath, and that she's willing to
Mm.
risk death rather than return to the place of oppression that she perceives is more dangerous than death itself. So that reflects that, past trauma and the strong drive for her own agency that it's awesome to see that she's able to, kind of have those choices. But I mean, I'm glad she's still alive. So,
Oh yeah. Well, and what's so interesting psychologically about that moment, one is, as you say, she has these key moments where she decides, like, fuck this. I'm fighting until the end. One is when they were taking her to that guy Cormac. One is here in this instance. She picks these key moments to make a stand for herself mentally, and I think that's so important to who she is as a character, but also important for her resilience. Like, she is faced with so much where, as you say, her autonomy is taken away, and she makes these stands where she won't allow herself to be manipulated or to be used. And what's so interesting, or a line that I thought was so interesting, is when you watch that moment unfold for Lorcan, and Lorcan says something to the effect of that he had never been so afraid in all his life as when he saw that knife going toward her belly. Like,
which is
something
like
about watching.
interesting, for him being like a whole soldier and all of that. Interesting that was like the scariest moment for him.
Yeah, it's almost like watching her specifically do it. Something
Right.
about her
Something
means
about
something to
her.
her.
Hmm.
Ah,
Interesting.
huh. I wonder how that'll unfold. Um, so this moment happens, and while things are contentious between Elite and Lorcan here and there, I'm not gonna lie and say it's all peaches and cream. They definitely are at each other for various things. They are getting closer to each other. And Elide says to Lorcan that he will have a place in Paranth if he ever wanted one, and Lorcan in return vows that he will always find her.
Hmm.
Um, and in a show of elite feminism, Lorcan also is like, "Oh, girl, you need period supplies? Let me tear up my shirt for you so you can have period supplies. Like, I'm not even afraid of this whole thing,
I don't
and
even
I'm going to help
remember
you."
that.
Oh, it's a big thing within. There's a lot of memes about that, about Lorcan being so helpful with period care, because at one point Elite's like, "I need supplies," and he's like, "What do you mean supplies?" And she's like, and then he like smells blood on her, and he's like,
Oh
"Oh,
wow.
those kind of supplies." So he tears up his own shirt so that she has period cloths. And he's not afraid. And he is like, I'll be your Tampax baby or whatever. Like he's like, I'll help you with this. And he's a good sport about it.
Wow, I missed that detail. I yeah, I didn't connect the period with that.
Well, welcome to you've unlocked a whole new realm of memes
Oh my
about about
goodness.
Aline and Lorcan. If you, as you're scrolling through the interwebs, if you see that pop up, that's what that's referring to.
Okay, well that's bare
So,
minimum now. If we're out
oh,
in the wild, I expect you to rip your shirt for my period
uh,
needs.
yeah. If something should occur, I expect you to just tear your clothes off and rip them into shreds for
Yeah.
me, so that I can feel nice and ladylike, and that's what we need as women.
That is too funny.
Um, so Alid gets her pads from Lorcan, and then Hellas, which is the god that watches over Lorcan. Lorcan's power is really interesting because his power is in death. He senses death. He delivers death. He can feel death's presence, and that is through the god Hellas. So, and periodically, Hellas, just like other gods will nudge other people, Hellas will nudge Lorcan toward a particular location or place. And in this moment, Hellas nudges Lorcan south to the stone marshes, interestingly enough. And Lorcan, not being one to refuse help from a god, says, all right, bro, I'm in. And he and Alid start walking, and they walk for days and days, and they walk through the marshes, and they're helping each other and whatnot. Even one morning, they wake up, and he's kind of like leaned over her a little bit, and then their faces get really close, and then they start kissing, and you're like,
Mm.
oh my god, is this going somewhere? Are we gonna do something right now? And she's even like, yes, like, let's do it. And then
He walks
over the
away or
horizon,
something.
no, it's not their
Oh no,
fault. I can't
that's
be,
that's someone else. Never mind.
yeah, I can't be mad at them, because over the horizon there comes a host of 500 ilkin naturally, because we can't just have a good time. And Lorcan is like, we need to leave now. And Lorcan does something really interesting. um, he knows that Aelin and friends are in the stone marshes and that they're some distance away, and he's seeing the ilkin before they will have seen the ilkin. And so he sends a blast of his power, a warning blast of his power, to tell Aelin and friends, wherever they are, because he doesn't specifically know, that the Ilkin are on their way. And Rowan and Fenris and Gavriel, who are with Aelin, all feel it for what it is, because they work with Lorcan for so long. They're like, that's Lorcan sending a warning, because other people don't really know what's happening. And Lorcan and Aline start running away from the Ilkin and toward Aelin. But too late, Lorcan realizes that they are both right in the path of any major fire magic that Aelin's going to use to push back the Ilkin. And so he covers a lead with his body and puts a shield over them and weathers this fire blast that she puts out. And we'll get more into detail what that looks like and how that's going on Aelin's end. But once that fire blast has passed, they get up. Lorcan's a little worse for the wear because his shield was going up against Aelin's magic. And they start walking toward Aelin and friends. And we'll pick up with them when they link up with Aelin and friends. But I'm curious to hear how you feel about Alid and Lorcan as characters, and also how do you feel about their dynamic?
I do like them a lot, and I
Mm.
like to see, where it's like it's becoming that like slow burn tension here and there, but obviously
Mm.
they have all these other things in mind that they're not really paying that much attention to their like love or any romance. And I believe I do have maybe like one or two teehee moments from them, maybe in that moment that you talked
Mhm.
about. Um, yeah, I like where it's going. It's interesting to see what their connection really
Mm-hmm.
means, if there's more there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I like him. I like him. I like that, he protects Elide, and that, he's there for her.
Yeah. He's just a man who's willing to tear up his clothes for her and let her bleed all over them and
Mhm.
protect her from Ilkin and Vernon, and he's just I'm a Larkin
Yeah.
fan. So
Yeah. I like him. I like him a lot.
there we go. So as I mentioned, we are going to pick up with them with Aelin and friends later, but I want us to switch POVs to Aelin and friends. And when I say Aelin and friends, I mean Aelin, Adian, Rowan, Manon, Fenris, Gavriel, and Dorian, among a host of other sort of more minor characters. But those are the like main folks that are with Aelin at this time. And we're going to go back in time a little bit, pre the moment with Alida and Lorcan meeting up with them. While Alida and Lorcan have been traipsing with caravans and avoiding Ilkin, Aelin and friends are sailing for the Stone Marshes. And at the very end of the first part of the book, Manon Blackbeak rolls up with Abraxas, who's used his dragon navigation, his wyvern navigation, to figure out where they are. And now she's basically their prisoner. You like that?
I was
You
going to
like
say his Google Maps.
his wyvern maps.
Yeah.
I feel like it'd be like Y maps, like WY
Yeah, and then
maps.
he has like almost like a little Apple Watch on his paw, where he can check in.
He has to get his circles or his steps, and and his watch is like, damn, like you're doing so well, 10,000 wing flaps, like great job.
That is so funny. Yeah, he's got to track it somehow.
Yeah, and that's how he's doing it, I bet, is through Apple Apple products and
Yeah.
Y maps. Trademark. We're gonna TM that. So don't steal it, anyone. But Abraxas had basically dropped her off into the water by the boat as close as he could get. And now Abraxas is on the ship with them, like sitting, kind of waiting to see what's happening. And Manon is in her. It's basically a small cabin, but they've rigged it up with some chains that um, keep her from escaping or doing anything violent. And Manon spends a lot of time right at the beginning healing up physically because she's got this vicious gash. She's lost a ton of blood. And emotionally, she's quite distraught. She doesn't know where the 13 are, and that's a big concern for her. And she's realized that she is the Croaking Queen. Her whole life has been blown up by the knowledge that the matron had dropped on her in the first part of the book,
Mm-hmm.
where the matron tells her about her father and her mother, about how the matron killed them both, how she's the Croaking Queen, that the Croaking she killed in the beginning of her arc was her half sister. There was so much that came out of that conversation that rightfully she is trying to process and is having a difficult time doing so. And while Manon, I'm gonna work so hard. Manon, not Manon. While Manon is healing up and dealing with her emotional stuff, there are several relational things that are happening on the boat. The action that's happening outwardly is just them sailing on a boat, but there are these different things that are transpiring between characters that are interesting to track. One, Dorian comes to see Manon once she's conscious, and they've taken like rolling watches of her, so like different people on the boat will watch her, and Dorian's one of the people on watch. And there is some elite sexual tension
Oh yeah.
occurring between Dorian and Manon. And in this moment, he like kisses her, but he doesn't go any further. One, I think because Manon is in chains and he seems to have this, like, he stays his hand. He's like, I'm not about to like
Take
take advantage
advantage.
of
Yeah.
someone in chains.
Right.
And also he's got these like shadow hands that have come out of somewhere, and he can use his shadow hands in addition to his real hands.
Now that's what we're talking about.
Now that is what we're needing here in our lives. If you don't have shadow hands, what are you even doing?
Yeah, I think that's has to be on the list of just things that you can do in order to be approved.
That's just part of the package that you need to bring to the table. And I'm out here just wondering why so many of these people out in the dating world are out here without shadow hands. That's really fucking rude.
They don't meet the qualifications. Like,
sorry, everyone.
There has
if
to
you
be
don't show up,
there has to be a magical dating app that for those who have those type of powers.
And I was gonna say, should that be a dragon app, a wyvern app? Why dates? Why dates with Abraxas?
Yeah, he's special. Yes. He has his little spider web wings.
Yeah, he's got his shimmery wings that he could show off. He's like, hey, look over here.
He's different. He's he's not like the other guys.
He's not like the other guys. One, in the fact that he's got some shimmer. Two, in the fact that he's a fucking wyvern.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So anyway, tattered shirts, wyverns, and shadow hands are all now on the docket. Rise to the occasion, everyone. That's up to other people. So Dorian and Manon have their moment, and it's like, oh shit, y'all, something's happening.
Yeah.
But Dorian, I think, decides, I'm not going to mess with somebody who's chained up. I don't like that. And eventually Manon slips kind of into this catatonic type state. And it feels very much like Aelin post Nehemia's death. Like she is kind of unresponsive. People are talking to her or trying to get information out of her. She's not even hearing them. So she slips into that and kind of is in the midst of dealing with that while the other characters are interrelating. Other characters that are having interesting happenings. One, Rowan and Aelin, their bond is getting stronger all the time. They are reaffirming their commitments to one another in several ways, both emotionally and physically. They seem to have gotten rid of the we need the perfect time and place mentality.
Out the window for that. Yeah, no.
Yeah, gone. Rightfully so. Because, hey, y'all, you could die any day.
Yeah.
Do you want to go out being like, well, I could have had lots of crazy sex on this boat, but I didn't. And so now I'm just I missed all those opportunities. Like,
yeah, because there was too many people on the boat.
They get rid of that.
Excuse.
They don't care about that, and we're here for that. We're here for them not caring about that.
Yeah.
Run your life, live your best, and they are doing that. In addition to the connective bliss that Rowan and Aelin are having, although I don't know if I would say bliss, but they're doing the thing. Adian continues to run into frustrations. One, because Gavriel is also on the boat, and that frustrates him, having to be in his dad's presence. And he is getting more and more aggravated at the fact that Aelin hides things. So Gavriel and Aelin are a little bit, I think Gavriel more so, on his shit list a little bit, but he's starting to get more and more bitter about it. However, Adian and Lysandra's bond also grows. They have these kind of sweet moments together where they're there for one another. And I think Adian recognizes that, given Lysandra's past, that if they're going to build a bond, it's going to be very slow going, and that he's going to have to let her lead the sort of creation of that bond. So that's what's happening interpersonally. As they go along on their boat, sort of what's happening in the physical action of the book, they see that a bunch of villages along the coast that they're passing are burning with fire. And Aelin and friends make an educated guess that it is Morath's forces that are burning up these villages. And the reason they're using fire, they speculate, is that Erewhon is trying to make people believe that it's Aelin who's setting fire to all these places. Um, we find out later that they are wrong. That is not true. But she really does try to put out fires everywhere that they see them. She's off the shore, so she can't get to all of the fires they come across, but she does her best kind of from the boat. Boat's chugging along, fires are being put out as best as they can, and eventually Manon sort of snaps out of her catatonic state. And she starts advocating for, like, can I please be let out of this room? I'm like surrounded by some of the most powerful people on this continent. Can you like cut me a little bit of slack? And after some back and forth, they decide that they're going to let her out under heavy guard. There's going to still be some chains involved. She's always got to be with someone. But they start letting her out. So she's in and out of her little cabin, but it's never totally free. And at one point, Aelin and friends decide they want to go talk to Manon about what she may or may not know about the word keys and everything else. And once they all kind of enter the entryway hallway of her cabin, she recognizes that that Fenris is not Fenris. Everyone else thinks whoever this creature is that it's Fenris, but it is not. It is the Bloodhound. The Bloodhound is back, and the Bloodhound tries to sick Manon, but they fight it off, as well as a small band of Ilkin that attack the ship. And many of them are injured and drained after this attack, but they prevail, and then Aelin, Gavriel, and Rowan, who have healing abilities, all work to heal everyone on the boat. The reason I highlight this instance, one is because we know that Morath is still looking for Manon, but also this is another instance where Aelin is using her magic, where she's draining her magic, which comes into play later. So she's first putting out these fires, which takes magic. She's fighting the Ilkin, which takes magic. She's healing people, takes magic, and that becomes a little bit of a pattern. After a bit, after everybody's healed up, they land at the Stone Marshes, and although Manon hates it, she has to tell Abraxas to fly away and be safe. He can't stay on the boat. He's kind of making a mess of things, and she doesn't want him in the marshes. There's no good place for a wyvern to land in the marshes. So Abraxas takes off. Again, he's got his Y maps up and his Apple Watch on, and they walk for a couple of days through this dense, wet marsh with all these like creepy, crawly creatures who are slithering through the water and over the little land pockets. And they head toward the temple in the middle of the marsh, that, as they have been told, in order to look for this lock that they have been promised is there.
Yeah, and it's interesting because at least with the description of the stone marshes, it definitely sounded pretty cool and like spooky. So I liked
Yes.
that. And you know, we see Manon, she's going through some serious like moral awakenings and internal dissonance where her identity as an Iron Teeth and Blackbeak heir is in direct conflict with her like conscience and like the the recent information that she found out, and now like having to let Abraxas go temporarily and abandoning the symbolic items like the cloak that she let go down in the water.
Oh
um
yeah.
and their acts of renunciation of her old identity or past guilt. So the memories that she cannot escape show how like trauma specifically of those like killing those close to her or like half family, like her finding out that I think it was her Rhiannon, is that her name, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So figuring out that that was like part of her family lingers, of course, and even when one takes action to move forward, it might still be something that she thinks about. And these events push her towards self forgiveness, or at least recognition of the cost of her actions. Um,
Mm.
but all in things that she was unaware of, which it could be difficult, being able to feel guilty for something that you didn't know, and but
Mm-hmm.
still it's a hard feeling for sure.
Yeah, I love that you bring up that dynamic of her recognizing or figuring out some things is when it hurts the most. I think that's something we see in counseling. Folks
Mhm.
will go to counseling because rightfully they want to feel better. That's why they're coming to us. There's something emotionally going on. They want to feel better. And sometimes you have to examine some wounds before you can start to feel better. And I use the metaphor with folks of like, if you've got a really bad cut on your arm and you go to the doctor, they have to stitch it up first, which will hurt. But you can only heal the wound once you've stitched it up.
Mm.
So I feel like this is Manon's, like if she were in a therapeutic journey, this is her first foray into actually having feelings and recognizing them and letting herself feel them. And so it doesn't surprise me at all that this is where she's at in her journey, because you kind of have to do that before you could start to make meaning of it.
Yeah, so I feel for her. I do love her as
Yeah,
a character.
she's so I'm such a Manon fan.
Yeah.
Like that's all I'll say about that. I was almost about to say something really not. I'm not even
A
gonna go
little
there.
spoilery.
Yeah. I was about to dip my tooties into a bad place. So we're not gonna do that.
We're only
But I
2 books
love.
away, so 2 books away from finding out all those
Oh my
little
god.
things that you have in mind.
We should do a full episode where we just cut back to these moments and I can be like, this is what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Because I don't even know if I remember all the ones from like the Throne of Glass episode or, the earlier ones. I'm
Mm.
sure there were things that I was, scheming about that I don't even remember at this point. But we could do like a schemes episode. What were the schemes? all the schemes
Oh,
episode.
that's funny. Okay.
Um Anyway, they're going through the marshes. They're headed toward the lock, and they feel a warning pulse of magic from Lorcan. Again, Rowan and Gavriel and Fenris all know what it is. Everyone else was like, what the fuck is that? And all the cadre are going, that's Lorcan. He's telling us something's coming. We got to get ready. And they see a host of Ilkin coming over the horizon, 500 Ilkin against a handful of, albeit very powerful people, but a handful of just there's a few of them compared to that 500, and it is not looking good. And Adian's frustration over some of the things that he didn't know or kind of didn't get to choose in this arc starts to bubble up. He berates Aelin and blames her for bringing Erewhon's attention to them. And Adian, babe, this is not the time to argue about it. And everybody knows that. Like, Aelin and everyone else is like, we better get in formation and figure out what the hell we're going to do.
And now he wants to just tell her how he feels about all of that.
He just wants to get into it right now as the Ilkin descend. Sir, there will be no arguing about this if you don't live through it. Just want to point that
Time
out.
and place. We have to at least understand when is the right time and place to have a conversation like this.
Precisely. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. We need to start with physical safety, bro, before we can have any kind of emotional conversation. So
very, very true. Very true.
let's establish that. But he's not seeing the forest through the trees. Everyone else is like, we gotta get in formation. So Aelin's basically in the middle. Her plan, as is most times, is huge blast of magic that will incinerate everybody. And Rowan and Dorian are on her flanks to catch strays. And then Manon and Adian are on their flank to catch strays. And then Lysandra is slithering through the bog like as a 10 different creatures.
So cool.
Kicking up all the creatures of the marsh to catch any strays after that. So they basically have these like waves of defenses. Aelin's going to take out as many as she can. And then everyone else is just going to catch Ilkin that kind of make it out of that blast. And you know what? They do the damn thing. Aelin blasts out her magic and takes care of most of the host, almost incinerates Elide and Lorcan, but she doesn't know that. She takes out most of the host, the others take out the strays, and it's a powerful show of her magic. Again, a very draining, powerful
Yeah.
show of magic.
Yeah, she does keep
Wink,
using
wink.
it up. Yeah.
Oh yeah. And so once the Ilkin are taken care of, who should roll over the horizon but Elide and Lorcan? And let us never forget the fact that Fenris and Gavriel have a directive from Maeve to kill Lorcan. So they are magically compelled to kill him upon seeing him. So they attack Lorcan because they have to, they have no choice. Elide throws herself onto Lorcan to protect him, takes a bite from Fenris, who's in his wolf form, and everyone is horrified because Elide is Elide. She's a gem and she's as no match for Fenris and Gavriel. And she gets really hurt. And so the fighting stops so that Gavriel can heal her. And then Rowan, sneaky, smart man, or male, because he's Fae male, stays their hand further by saying that Elide and Lorcan are under Aelin's protection, and if that Gavriel and Fenris attack them, it's an act of war. And so that kind of stays the magic, because the idea is always to protect Maeve, and the magic loosens up if it gets the sense that there's going to be danger to Maeve. So
it's like a way to get through that that bond or that oath that they have to fulfill.
Yes, it's a little workaround, which they all are becoming better and better at navigating and doing. So, and everyone's relieved. Fenris is relieved. Gavriel's relieved. Lorcan and Elide. Everyone's like, okay, whew, thank God we avoided that for a little bit. And you know what? Everybody loves Elide, and everybody wants to claim this girl and like be her protector. Aelin and Elide have a tearful emotional reunion after 10 years plus not seeing each other. And Elide delivers a message from her mother Marion that Marion said on the night that she died, and the night that Aelin got thrown into the river, that Marion just asked Aelin to tell Elide that she loves her. So she says this to Elide, and Elide explains to Aelin Kaltain's sacrifice and that she has the word key. And she produces the word key and is like, here you go. Queen, take it. And Aelin is shocked. It's a total, like, she was not expecting Elide to have a word key. So it's, I think, a furthering of their agenda in a way that Aelin did not anticipate. In addition to the reunion with Aelin, Manon also reunites with Elide, and both of them stake a claim on Elide, and they make it clear to Lorcan. Aelin's like, she's mine, and Manon's like, she is also mine. And so, and both of them are like, and Lorcan, by the way, your claim over her, third to both of our claims. Stupid. And they're very fierce about that.
Of course, they're like two queens.
Oh yeah, they're I think they have such like a big sister little sister vibe with Elide, and I think it's so cute. And then what you kind of figure out is that Manon and Aelin perceive that there's a bond between Lorcan and Elide, that even Rowan comments on, that Lorcan's kind of a simp for her, and he also wants to make a claim to her. Although what kind of claim, we don't know. Yet to be seen. They're all finally together. The crew is there. And one thing that I want to highlight that Dorian perceives, and that's interesting to me, is he sees all of them gathered, and we know Dorian's kind of like our emo boy noticer. He perceives. He's always tracking and watching. And he comments on how many of the people in the group are touched or led by various gods. Hellas guides Lorcan, Anieth guides Elide, the three-faced mother guides Manon, Mala Firebringer, and Deanna are with Aelin, and he remarks that this can't be a coincidence. It feels like there are machinations above their understanding or knowing that these gods are pushing all of them together for something. I'm just going to drop that there.
Hmm.
I'm going to notice what Dorian noticed, and we're just going to move. We're just going to percolate on that a little bit as
Okay.
we move forward. Yeah,
Yeah.
just put that in your noggin. So after Dorian notices and they're all walking, they finally get to the lock. And when they open the chest at the temple, I don't know what they're expecting and they don't know what to expect, but they look inside and there is a mirror, a witch mirror. And everybody's a little confused and I think disappointed. They thought there was going to be some great answer to something. And Manon explains that witch mirrors were used to look into the past and present and future, and that Erewhon has plans to use them as a weapon. She doesn't know quite what this particular mirror will do, but it's got the Eye of Elena on it. And what Manon tells them is the Eye of Elena is actually a witch symbol. And that it's a symbol for the three-faced goddess. So Elena and the witch lore kind of are overlapped in a way that they don't understand. They take the chest with the mirror, they put it in the boat, and they head back to the boat. I don't know about you, but if I were them, I would be fucking disappointed. Like, I would want some answers, and what it seems like they get only is more questions.
Right. Yeah. And I think they're going to have to explore that in order to find out what it even means, what can the mirror do? Yeah.
Yeah. They load it up and they're just like, well, we'll do something with it, I guess. They're at the beach at the edges of the stone marshes, and most of them have the absolute shit scared out of them when they see a horde of Melisandre's ships roll up. And a woman in a cloak rolls up to the beach, and they're all like, who's this? Who this? Turns out to be Ansel of Briarcliff, bitch from Assassin's Blade,
Yeah.
who betrayed everybody but got her sword back. And I think if we are to take the like nudge from fate perspective, probably for this moment. So it's all kind of coming together.
Mm.
Why give the sword back? Why help Ansel of Briarcliff?
Yeah.
It's for this moment.
Yeah.
She has conquered Melisandre. She's taken it over. And she has brought her fleet from the wastes. If you remember, Briarcliff sits on the edge of the waste, which is also where the witches ruled before they were kicked out.
Yeah.
And she rolls up and she's like, yo, I'm here to repay a life debt to you. Number one. Number two, you've been fighting in the pits of Rifthold under my name, bitch. And
Yeah.
Aelin was using that essentially as a calling card for Ansel.
Like, she knew it was going to get back
genius.
to her that someone was using her name.
The genius. It's just like I am yet again in awe of the schemes. So they have a reunion. It's all like snarky and cool. And Aelin tells Ansel to go north and to rally the Croken witches. Ansel and Manon are immediately at each other's throats because of that. Ansel rules the wastes, but Manon, as the rightful Croken queen, believes that witches should rule the wastes. But she's hesitant herself to try to take that power because she's been hunting Crokens all her life, and she's pretty sure they hate her.
Right.
She's like, I'm the last person you want ruling the Crokens, but I may be the only person that can rule the Crokens. So she's in a sticky wicket a little bit. So they come up off the beach, they go back to the boat, and what should happen but a sex scene with Dorian and Manon.
It was nice.
It was so nice. It was so nice. And like, they're both a little like dark and twisty. And so, you know, I feel like Aelin and Rowan are like the golden couple. And I feel like Manon and Dorian are like a little bit darker, twistier, perhaps a little bit kinkier if you think about the way they talk about their scene.
That's true.
So, and Manon comments on the fact that she yields control to him in a way that she has never with a lover, and that she never thought she could have such freedom from yielding control. And I was like, damn, that not only like this is great tee wise, but what a like moment of growth for Manon emotionally to like yield control to somebody. That's crazy.
Yeah. They definitely had a little thing going like for since they've known each other and stuff like that. So it's interesting to see where they will go.
Uh-huh. Agreed. Agreed.
Mm.
So they they bow chicka wow a little bit. There's going to be some teehees later for me around that, so I'm not even going to get into the deets.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, but we'll teehee about it in a bit. And they're all trying to figure out what to do with the mirror. They're like, we now have this mirror, and again, Elena and Brandon don't explain shit, so we don't know what to do with the mirror. But unluckily for everyone, Maeve rolls up at this moment. Her fleet comes over the horizon, and everyone is shitting themselves. They're like, this is not going to go well. But as always, they rally. They're like, we have no choice but to fight. And this kicks off what I feel is a landslide of events that leads us to the end of this book.
Yeah.
She gives them till dawn to make a decision, like surrender Aelin or fight. And the morning that they're due to fight Maeve, Dorian rushes into Aelin and Manon and is like, listen, I have an idea. I think the lock is not a thing that actually physically unlocks anything. I think it's information. I think the two of you need to step into the mirror and get information that will help us win this thing. And what's so cool about Aelin and Manon stepping into the mirror is it mirrors this unification between Aelin and Rhiannon, the original Croken Queen, not Manon's half sister, but like ancient witch. And it's like there's a symbolism there that I like around a witch and a fae have to step into this mirror together in order to unlock the secrets.
Interesting. And now as mentioning, like, how did Dorian gather that information?
He's a thinker. He's a schemer, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Because he never mentions if he's guided by someone, like a god or something.
So he's just coming up with ideas all on his own then, huh?
Yeah, it's interesting.
Maybe.
But it's so cool the idea of the mirror and like needing like a fae and a witch, and like symbolically and psychologically entering the mirror is like stepping into the unknown, committing to a path of power, and also a risk because they don't know like what inside the mirror is going to look like. If they can even get out, like it's definitely like you don't know what's going to happen. And for Aelin, it means more knowledge, but also more burden because it's like, okay, more pieces to the puzzle, just like more things to add on the to-do list. And she's making choices consciously now, even if they are scary. For both Aelin and Manon, this reflects a growth in accepting that power requires sacrifice and knowledge, and maybe confronting their past selves in some way.
Yeah. And I think that really is the message of the mirror. Knowledge is power, but also knowledge is an incredible burden.
Yeah.
And we'll see how that unfolds here in a moment. But it's an onslaught of just knowledge that they're receiving. So Aelin and Manon step through, and Adian and Rowan are furious because they have no choice but to meet Maeve and fight. And Rowan, Gavriel, Lorcan, Dorian, and Adian all take command positions of Melisandre's and Ansel's boats, and they start fighting, but they're clearly outnumbered, and they're trying to buy as much time as they can until Aelin and Manon get back. When Aelin and Manon step into that mirror, all of these things unfold that are designed to show Aelin what she has to do next and to give her proper context for the present moment. And so much unfolds, but I'm going to try to give you the like, here's all of the things we learn from the mirror. Number one, Elena miscalculated when she tried to lock Erewhon up. Brannon had the Amulet of Orinth and was going to use it with the other gods to lock not only Erewhon out, but all of them. The other gods had agreed, we'll take Erewhon back to our home, wherever that is, and to the other side of the gate, and we'll deal with him on our end, and we'll get everybody out here. Elena, before that plan can come to shape, she uses the Amulet of Orinth and the lock to lock Erewhon in this realm, in Aurelia. This is a huge blow to Elena, to Brannon. Brannon's furious. But Elena makes a deal with the gods. They will give someone in Elena's bloodline the opportunity to close the gate instead of having Erewhon annihilate the world in Elena's time in that moment. They say, okay, we will help you, lock down Erewhon for a time, but someone in your bloodline has to close the gate, and it will cost them their life. And Elena would have to be the one to lead them to their own destruction, which is what you realize that she's been doing this whole time.
Yeah.
Elena leaves Terrasen, never to return, gives up her immortality so that she can have a life with Gavin Haviliard. Again, we know that Aelin and Dorian are both descended from this line. As I mentioned, Brannon is furious that she's done this, that she gave up her immortality, and I think he sees it as her turning her back on her own kingdom. And so Brannon forges clues into various things in Rifthold to give whoever his future bloodline, whoever has to deal with this in the future, he's trying to provide that person with clues. So that's why you see the carving on the sarcophagus and the sword. He forged Mort, the doorknob that talks. And all of this so that his descendant, whoever it may be, can figure out what this is all about. We also learn that on the night that Aelin fell into the frozen river by her family's, home estate a decade ago, she was going to die. And Elena begged the gods for Elena to be corporeal or physical one more time so that she could help Aelin. She had become attached to Aelin and couldn't bear to see her die. Even though if Aelin had died in that moment, she would have fulfilled the life debt of locking the word gate, but Elena couldn't stand it. So the gods grant her request, and Elena helps her onto the side of the river, and then she compels Erebin to that river to save Aelin, which I think locks in another thing about Erebin as a character. He's not naturally good. It's not like he has a selfless bone in his body. It's like he was compelled there by Elena to save her. Then we flash forward, and Nehemia is at the Stone Marshes, and she thinks that she is the one who needs to seal the gate. But Elena shows up to Nehemia and says that she has to prepare one of the descendants of Elena's line to take on the burden. And they talk about whether it should be Aelin or Dorian. But they decide that Dorian is not ready and that Aelin must be the one to take on the burden. So you learn that Nehemia, from the moment she met Aelin, knew who Aelin was. Nehemia knew that she was going to sacrifice her life for this cause, and that her death was going to be used as a catalyst, as a breaking for Aelin to go on this journey. So now we know that Aelin must pay the price. Aelin must die.
Yeah.
To fulfill the promises made by Elena. And that Elena, this entire time, has been grooming Aelin for this moment. That she's been pushing her and prodding her and moving her toward forging this lock. And Manon sees all of this along with Aelin.
It was really like shocking to just like learn all that information as you're reading it too, and you're like, oh my god, like this is, it's like you're already emotionally tearing me up. Yeah, so it was
Uh-huh.
definitely very shocking and crazy how all the pieces are now coming together and everything being so connected. It's just so sad where it'll go. I'm assuming, like, you know.
I mean, I don't know. But I think what I can say at this point, another kind of piece in the puzzle of things that I have not been saying, but have wanted to say this entire time, this moment makes me so angry at Elena.
Yeah.
I really, I do not like her at all, and it borders on hate. You have, you manipulated a child
Mm.
to make this sacrifice that you would yourself not take on. You passed this irreversible burden onto somebody, and you're being arbiter of like, who should it be? Is it Dorian or Aelin? Who deserves to die? Like,
Like, why do
it makes me
you
so mad.
yeah, and like her making that choice of choosing between those them two. Like it's crazy. Yeah, I definitely don't like that. You know, now Aelin has to pay for Elena's bad choices.
Yes, and so doesn't everybody.
Mm,
Everybody's paying for
yeah.
Elena's bad choices. And so from the moment we meet Elena in like Throne of Glass, I can't tell you how many times I just wanted to be like, this bitch. I
Yeah.
wanted to just be so fucking mad at her, but I couldn't. I was just like, and then there's Elena who's here and who is talking to Selena Sardathian for some reason, but inside, just
Mm,
know that whole time, furious with Elena and her stupid bullshit.
yeah.
She makes me so mad. Yeah.
Sorry, I was gonna sneeze again.
Oh, you're good. You're good. Do what you gotta, girl.
I'm good. I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, it's just crazy. And I didn't even, at least when Elena was introduced, I thought she was like a cool little ghost, you know. You don't really know too much, but I thought it was like more of like a ghost who was helping guide Aelin
Yeah.
to know more of what's going on. But now we know that it's literally because of this. Like she needed to do that to get her to this point.
Well, and all those times where Aylin's going, why are you being so cryptic? Why aren't you just telling me what's going
Oh
on?
yeah.
And Elena's like, "Oh, sorry, can't." Like,
And then
that
she
all was a
ghosts away.
manipulation. Yeah, it was all a
Yeah.
manipulation. It was all a big game to get her to this point and to prepare her to make this sacrifice. Like, what just absolute bullshit. And that's the thing. It's like you act like this benevolent helper. You're not. You're not a benevolent helper. You're keeping her alive long enough for her to be this sacrifice.
Mm,
And it makes me so mad.
yeah.
So,
You know, that reminds me a lot of you know, in Harry Potter when Dumbledore, you know, when they ultimately find out that in order to kill Voldemort, and if you've never watched or read Harry Potter, then this is kind of a spoiler, but you should. But anyways, yeah, that when Dumbledore finds out that in order to, you know, for Voldemort not to be alive anymore, like Harry has to die, and that,
mm,
you know, that's something that at least with like Snape and, you know, McGonagall, like they're all like, so you know, we're just keeping him alive and leaving him like a lamb to the slaughter or whatever it was described as. But where it's like that ultimate like sacrifice in order for this greater evil to be like rid of, you know. So it was
yeah.
interesting that that reminds me of that.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I can see parallels. And in both instances, you've taken agency away from the person who's at the center of it.
Yeah.
You've totally manipulated.
And they were both
And
children.
yeah, like it's just the injustice of it. I have like a very firm sense of like when something is like just or fair or not,
Yeah.
and the injustice of this just like boils my blood. I'm like from the first time Elena's name pops up in Throne of Glass, I just want to like flip her off so bad. But
you remain composure. I did not know.
Thank you. That was an effort. That was a labor of love because I wanted to be like, so this bitch, she's bad news. But I didn't say that. I was like, so Elena shows up and for some reason can't tell us. And at one point, it was hilarious because at one point, you're like, I just don't understand why she keeps disappearing. Like,
oh, yeah.
where does she have to go off to? And I'm like, so crazy that she would just have to disappear at random moments when the truth's about to come out. Like, anyway,
yeah,
I have a long-standing
I just
beef.
remember being like, why does she like randomly leave? Like, now I know.
this bitch, I got a long-standing beef with her, and I never let it go. Like it doesn't cool down for me. It's the same way I feel about Arabin. Anyway,
I was just gonna say, who do you hate more, Arabin or Elena?
Oh man.
I feel
that's
like
a rough one.
Like learning about Elena, like that's pretty bad, you know?
Okay. Here's the thing. Oh man, this is a hard one. Oh, I don't know. We might have to come back to it because I want to say Arabin because I think his evil is more willful. I think she made a huge fucking mistake.
True.
And there's some kernel of like, because in her mind, she was saving the world from slaughter that day so that the world would have a chance to thrive later.
Yeah.
Now I do think there was some cowardice involved in that, and whatever. But I think she has some modicum of like a noble intention, where Arabin's just
a
big bad
person. Yeah, that's true.
But ultimately, Elena, your mistakes are the things that are going to end up getting Aelin in trouble. Like Arabin's dead. Arabin's is neither here nor there. You're the one that's the biggest threat to Aelin at this point.
That's true.
So I don't know. I'd have to think about that. Anyway, that is my TED Talk and my rant about Aelin, or not Elena. Elena. That's my TED Talk about Elena. And I have many feelings about her. So I'm so glad that we finally get to talk some shit about her because I've wanted to this whole time. Any point, Manon and Aelin are learning all of this. And while that's happening, Maeve is absolutely kicking everybody's asses outside of the mirror. It's looking bad. But suddenly, 1/3 of her fleet turns on itself and attacks itself. And what you learn is that Rowan, the night before this battle, Rowan has a bunch of cousins who live in Doranel and who are part of Maeve's fleet. He goes to each of his cousin, literally gets on his knees and begs them to fight for Aelin. He tells the story of him and Aelin. It's a very vulnerable thing. He's like, I'm just going to lay it all out for you in perfect honesty and clarity, and I'm going to beg you to help us.
And they were like, we'll take it into consideration. Like they never give him an answer.
No, they don't say one way or another. So he doesn't know what's going to happen. He just hopes beyond hope that they will do something. And they do. They turn on Maeve, and that starts to turn the tide. And then who should roll up but Abraxas and the 13? Everybody's like beaten down. And then the 13 just roll up and they fuck everybody on the bad side even more. And they prevail. It's beyond all expectation. They actually win. And while they're winning and feeling pretty good about that, as they should, what no one has quite noticed is that Maeve is not there. Maeve's ship and Maeve herself is nowhere to be found in this battle. Interestingly, instead of popping up in the battle, she pops up on the beach where they have stashed a lead. They wanted to keep a lead safe. So they stashed her on a beach at the edge of the stone marshes. And that is where Maeve shows up to take a lead hostage. And because Maeve is close and they feel the bond tugging, Lorcan, Gavriel, and Fenris all leave to go to Maeve, compelled by the bond. And I think a little bit by their kind of fucked up sense of loyalty to her. Lorcan even has, or had for a long time, I think Alid has complicated this, but had a like sexual attraction to her and offered to go to her bed, and she never took him up on that. She only would bed Fenris. And so and by bed I almost mean just assault Fenris, because none of this is consensual.
That's true.
So recognizing that when we say that, it's she's using her power to compel Fenris to serve her, and that's just traumatic and not, so it's not consensual in any way. But she rebuffs Lorcan, and so it's a weird dynamic because the blood bond compels them to do a lot, but there's a history there where there's like Gavriel on some level serves her willingly. Lorcan at one point had an attraction to her, and what's super mega interesting is that the mirror, instead of depositing Manon and Aelin back onto the boat where they started, it deposits them on the beach, close to where Alid is being held by Maeve. Aelin and Manon see this unfolding and they can't allow it to happen. Aelin will not allow Alid to be taken.
Yeah.
And so they walk up and Maeve says, basically, I'm going to take Alid and do nefarious things with Alid if you don't come peaceably. Aelin, sneaky girl that she is, and we don't learn this till later, but I'm just going to tell you right now, she nudges past Manon, and in that nudge hands off the 2 word keys to Manon. And Manon feels this. She knows now, like Manon knows she has the word keys. So now Manon is locked in. Manon's like, Aelin has given me the word keys to help me get away with them. I can't pretend like I like her. I can't try to help her. I can't try to help anybody. I just got to get me and Alid out of here. And I've got to play the like heartless, impassive witch right now. So now Manon knows her role, but nobody else on the beach does. And Alid's like, please help, do something. And she won't because she's got the word keys. And then Maeve starts to go on a long rant, basically her like evil monologue of all of this information that it's her like villain monologue basically. And a lot is said in like all these like dramatic and poetic ways, but I'm just going to tell you what she reveals, and it's so much, but I'm going to try to be as like clear as possible. 1, Maeve has been setting a big ass trap for Aelin. She has been purposefully doing things to drain Aelin's power because she knows she would never be able to capture Aelin at full power. So those fires, that was Maeve. When the Ilkin came, Maeve saw that and was like, hell yeah, I'm going to wait for after this whole Ilkin thing to blow over to attack because I need her power to be sapped. And it is. Her plan has worked. When Lorcan sent out his pulse of power, he definitely was sending a warning to Aelin and the crew, but he was also summoning Maeve to help Alid. And Maeve knows this, and Maeve rats Lorcan out and is like, I know you sent me here, and this is such a betrayal because Maeve knew they were in the area and she was planning to pounce at some point to try and find her, but Lorcan basically gave them the direct location. He sent out a ping. He shared his location.
He shared his location on iMessages.
Yeah, on Find My Friends. He shared his location, and Maeve took out her iPhone, looked it up, and was like, oh, Lorcan, babe, thank you. And that's how she knew where to roll up and where to be. And at a time where Aelin was very weakened. It's like this perfect storm. Then Maeve proceeds to tell the story of Rowan and Aelin from her perspective. She had seen long ago that Rowan and Aelin would be mates. This is where we learn they are mates, and that they would be the ones to rule, and that their offspring would take over the land. Not only would they rule Terrasen, but they would rule across the world. And so when she comes across Rowan, she saw him for what he would be, and she pushed him toward Lyria using mind magic to make him believe that Lyria was his mate. Lyria was not his mate, but he thought she was.
Mm.
She then purposefully murdered Lyria to break him and bring him under the blood bond, so that when Aelin was born, Maeve would have Rowan at her side. That way Aelin would have to come to her when they cross paths. Then when Aelin was born, Maeve pushed Aelin's mom Evelyn to let Maeve see her and meet her because she suspected this is what it was all going to come to a head about. And Evelyn refused. So Maeve was trying to figure out how to get Aelin in her grasp kind of all those years after everything fell apart in Terrasen. And she was absolutely delighted when Aelin just showed up in Wentylin, drunk on the rooftops of Varese. She's like, wow, look who's been placed in my lap. What a great way to get these two together and to break them. So she pushed Rowan and Aelin together, thinking that once they were in love, she could control Aelin through Rowan's blood bond, that Aelin would do anything Maeve wanted to protect Rowan. But Aelin threw a wrench at things. She broke that blood bond, and Maeve ever since has been biding her time and waiting to acquire, and I say that like specifically that word because it's objectifying, to acquire Aelin and make Aelin her ultimate like weapon and slave.
It's crazy just how evil Maeve is, and the fact that this was all planned, and just knowing that Aelin and Rowan are mates. Like, obviously now kind of like takes out the idea of like Sam coming and, you know, being any type of romantic relationship. Because I feel like now that that Aelin and Rowan know that they're mates, like you can't go
You can't get in the middle
stray
of that.
from that. So, but that's crazy.
It's like, it's wild to consider how much Maeve was planning this whole time. Also, how much Sarah J. Maas was planning this whole time.
Yeah.
It's spooky to think that Maeve's intentions were planned with that much precision from the moment that you meet her.
I don't know how it's possible to just have all those details and think so ahead of time. How is that possible?
I'm telling you, an intense amount of planning, I imagine. You can't walk into that with absolutely no plans, like, in my opinion.
Right.
I do wonder if, like, because I think, again, the first book, she put out the first book when she was quite young. And so I wonder if it got more complex for her as the books moved along. But I think at a certain point, like by the time you get to Heir of Fire, I think either she had to have an extensive plan this whole time, or she had to kind of connect details from the earlier books into like more complex plans in later books.
Yeah.
And whatever she did it with so much finesse and intelligence, and like all of it comes together. From the moment you start Throne of Glass, there are details. Like the little folk show up in the beginning pages of Throne of Glass. I'm going to stop talking because I'll pop off. But it's once you see the schemes coming together, so much starts making sense.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why a reread to me is so fun, because you get to see even earlier, you're catching all these things where you're like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. It's all been here the whole time.
Wow.
So yes, it was an incredible evil villain monologue. And we learned so much.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It is. So Maeve delivers all this information, and then she has Aelin stripped from the waist up and whipped by a fae named Karn, who is a sadist and who is a member of the cadre that replaced Rowan when he left. This is big bad. Karn is not a good figure from what we can tell, and he is going he promises sort of the maximum pain and suffering to Aelin. As Maeve promised, she releases a lead for Aelin's compliance. And Manon, again, who's being stoic this whole time and just wants to get her and a lead out of there, they peace out. She basically like throws a lead over her shoulder and is like, we're getting out of here. Maeve then, interestingly, breaks the blood bond with Gavriel and Lorcan, who are suffering greatly because of that break. They are writhing in pain, essentially, on the beach. But she leaves Fenris, the one who hates her most. He's the one that rails against his bond. Both Lorcan and Gavriel had some kind of like a desire to be in the bond at some point. Fenris has never. Fenris has fought the bond every inch of the way. And so she keeps Fenris bound to her because she knows that he'll hate it the most, that he'll be the most impacted by that. And she takes Aelin, puts her in an iron box with an iron face mask and manacles and collar. And it's specifically iron because that interacts negatively with her magic and with her fey blood. And she takes Aelin and Fenris and she takes off in her boat. Meanwhile, and Alid is devastated. Lorcan and Gavriel are devastated for various reasons. Manon is, I think it upsets her too, but she can't show it, and she has to protect the word keys and Alid. And Rowan and the rest of the crew, after fighting in this battle, after the battle ended, have been speeding toward them as fast as they can go. But they're all drained of their magic. So like Rowan couldn't take off in his bird form. He had to like run there. And they don't make it in time. And Rowan is absolutely destroyed. Especially given the fact that unbeknownst to the reader and to everyone else, Rowan and Aelin had gotten married 2 days prior to this battle.
Which was whoa, way to leave that out.
But that's a Sarah J. Maas. That is classic Sarah J. Maas. She'll give you, if you go back and you read the days leading up to that battle, there are signs. There are signs that Aelin understands there's one point where like Aelin throws up and they think it's like they're scared because Rowan's like, is this a pregnancy thing?
Right, yeah.
It's because she knows that she has to make her life sacrifice. Like she figures out even before they step into the mirror.
How?
Do you remember that tagline that Brannon as the bastard is that tagline, nameless is my price?
Yeah.
And Aelin has the word mark, that word mark emblazoned on her forehead. Nameless is my price. She is the nameless price, the nameless bastard price for this lock. So she starts figuring it out before everyone else does and keeps it to herself. And then once she figures that out, she marries Rowan so that Terrasen will have a future. If you watch those things unfold, you can catch what's happening as the reader ahead of time. But the first time you read it, you don't know what's going on.
Right. I was thinking if she was pregnant. That's what I was thinking. That's what she wanted you to think.
That's exactly. It's a smokescreen, dude. It's a smokescreen for other shit going on. Anyway, I get so passionate about this because it's wild. It's so wild. So anyway, all of this happens. Everybody's devastated. And who should roll up but Galen Ashriver, Aelin and Aedian's cousin from Wendlin, as well as the Silent Assassins, who both received messages from Aelin to show up at this location. Like, she sent these missives days ago for them to show up here, and the full extent of Aelin's schemes come to light, and she keeps her promises to everybody about the army that she would raise. Aedian gave her so much shit. He basically spat in her face and was like, where's your fucking army? And it's like, here's my fucking army.
Yeah.
Aelin had married Rowan to secure him as ruler of Terrasen. She had been talking to Lysandra, which again, you can also see like that her she has these conversations with Lysandra that you aren't privy to as the reader,
Right.
but you could see it later. She asks Lysandra, if anything should happen to me, pretend to be me and rule alongside Rowan so that Terrasen has a king and a queen. And Adian would be the one to secretly sire children with Lysandra so that they could look like Aelin. Then, with Aelin dead to seal the lock, all the favors that she called in from anyone that she ever helped would come to light. The Silent Assassins, Galen, Ansel, Rolf, the Mycenians. She has been collecting everybody. She has been forming a force that would defeat Erewhon and then setting people up to be the rulers in her stead so that Terrasen could prosper. She knew deep down that she was destined to die, but she was setting up a future for literally everybody else this whole time. And Lysandra falls in line. Lysandra shifts into her Aelin form and starts to pretend to be her. And she's good at it. She has, she's a courtesan. And so she's able to kind of put on an act.
Mm-hmm.
Adian is furious and he calls Lysandra a bitch for going along with it. And Rowan, Gavriel, Lorcan, and Elide go to find Aelin. Manon and Dorian leave with the 13 and the word keys and the wyverns to go find the Corkins. So it's like this event with Aelin and all her schemes coming to light scatters the crew kind of to different places. And that is what we are left with.
Wow. The fact that she was able to kind of accept her fate at this point, make all these plans, and like do all of this badass stuff of like having all of these connections to fight to defeat Erewhon. Like, it's crazy, all the elements that she put in place. And I guess, that's why she had to withhold information. But yeah, it's crazy because for sure people would have, if everyone would have known the plans, like Adian would have messed it up. Like like for sure that's how things unravel and go not according to plan when other people are kind of get in the way or like have their feelings about it. So
yeah. And I think that's what she feels. It's like, I know the price. I know it's unavoidable. I'm not going to let other people hamper what must be done in order to keep Terrasen and the people that I love safe. And Rowan makes I think a profound statement here in that regard, where he says she has made plans for everyone except for herself. She has fully sacrificed herself for the well-being of literally everyone else, but to the detriment of her.
Wow.
Reading this the third time upset me the same amount. I was like crying at the end when they take her away. Like it.
I was close, but I didn't cry. Maybe that's why it wasn't a 5-star for me. But
maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it was definitely very sad for sure, though.
Well, and I think this is part of the narrative where the full schemes of so much comes to light. Like, that for me is one of the coolest parts about the end of this book, is so much comes together. You realize how much you've been privy to, but you had no idea you were privy to it.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It's just, this is where I think we can fully see as readers all of the stuff that's been going behind the scenes. And it's for me, like, so emotionally destroying. Like,
yeah,
it's crazy. It's crazy. So it's yeah. When I finished it, I think I might have finished it a few days ahead of you. And I just wanted to be like, Yarlin, I'm sad. But I was like, I can't say anything. But I was, it took me a day to recover still. Third time. I know what's going to happen. It still was a lot.
Yeah.
So after the emotional roller coaster and all of the things we've been discussing, why don't we head for a break? We'll let the music play. And when we come back, we will revive ourselves with some tee-hee moments. We'll see you in a moment. Bye.
All right, we're back and we're gonna do our teehee moments.
Yes, yes, yes. I'm fired up.
So I'll go first since I do have a little bit less than you. Uh,
Listen, I try it. I never make it work.
my first one is between Dorian and Manon in page 397. It'd be a shame to lose the most beautiful woman in the world so soon into her immortal, wicked life. Her response is, I am not a woman. He says, which woman, as long as the parts that matter are there, what difference does it make?
Ooh.
Okay, Dorian. You know, he's funny with the way that he says things for sure.
Oh,
He has
he's
this
smooth.
little yeah, it's like a smooth, like charismatic way of like being
It's
funny.
I feel like it's his like cuz he had like fuckboy days. Like when he was younger, he was out here like being all charisma. And I think once you see emo Dorian, you kind of forget that.
Right.
But he won't let us forget. He's like, I do have, as the kids say, Riz. And I see it and I appreciate it.
Yeah, so for sure it was really interesting. My next one is page 422. I love you, Rowan breathed into her skin and flicked his tongue over the spot where his canines had scratched. I'd walk into the burning heart of hell itself to find you.
Mm. Mm.
You know, I love any line that has that it's similar to that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. And again, this goes along with Shadow Hands. Like if you're not willing to cross realms for me, what are we doing?
If you're not willing to break anything in the way between you and
Mm.
I, what are we talking
Mm.
about here?
What it if it ain't like that, I don't want it. Okay.
Yes. Oh, that now we have a little Lorcan and a lead action.
Mm.
This is when he promises to her, I will always find you. He swore to her, I promise. So
Ugh.
I think it's so nice to see that he was, so committed to like protecting her
Oh
suspiciously.
yeah. Mm.
Um,
Mm. Interesting.
then I have page 547, Queen and Lover and Friend and More. He hadn't cared that they had an audience. He had needed to touch her to reassure himself that she was all right, to feel the woman who could do such great and terrible things and still look at him with that beckoning vibrant life in her eyes. So that's Rowan
Oh.
describing Aelin, which was very
And
nice.
we love to see that he doesn't really care anymore about the perfect situation.
Who cares if there's an audience? Who cares
Throw
at this
some
point?
throw some PDA in there. Nobody cares. Nobody cares.
And my last one is page 575. I want to taste every inch of you.
Ooh. Ooh.
Mic
Ooh.
drop.
Yep. Every inch, every okay.
Square inch.
Every okay. I'm not going to argue with that. If that's what you want, that's none of my business. If that's what you need, okay, let me help you.
So those were my teehee moments. Now it's your turn.
Ooh, well, I do, as always, have a crop, but as always, also, I'm not going to say them all to spare us from that. But there are three; they fit into three categories. One, when Alid and Lorcan have their like promises and makeout sesh. Two, when Dorian and Manon have their sex scene. And to be clear, that whole scene, I could just highlight that whole scene.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I just tee-heed. I was like,
yeah, that whole scene was good.
Yeah. So let's be clear about that. But I'll highlight a couple of moments that are not too raunchy and also I really liked. And then my last sort of set of quotes comes from when Aelin was taken. And these are more of those heartfelt things than they are like
Yeah.
hee hee hee. But I put it in there. So to start with the Alid and Lorcan promises and make out sesh. I did have the I will always find you thing and where Alid promises the same, so I won't go over that one. On 491, I have the little blurb where they start kissing, and it says, "She reached the outer corner of his lips, and he turned his face into her hand, resting his rough cheek against her palm. His eyes grew heavy-lidded as she brushed a thumb over the hard plane of his face. The kiss was soft and quiet and brief, barely a grazing of her lips against his. She thought Lorcan might have been trembling as she pulled back, as heat bloomed across her cheeks.
Mm.
Number one, you lean your like face into like a little cupped palm moment. So cute. And then you're trembling. Like I pictured he's like holding himself back, trembling. I don't know if that's how
Right,
you
right.
pictured it,
Because
but
he's so like full of the passion.
he's so full of vigor that he wants to touch her, but he's holding back. Um and then page 492, a lead marveled at how natural it felt to open for him. Now, to be clear, that's not that kind of opening, but it's a little bit metaphorical. How her body sang at the contact, his hardness against her softness. Lorcan groaned at the first caress of his tongue against her own, his hips grinding against hers in a way that made heat scorch through her. Wowza. Wowza bowza. Like, okay, Lorcan.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yes, we get into that. And then next is the Dorian and Manon sex scene. I'm just gonna again pick a couple. I had the taste every inch of you one. And then 574, even as those phantom hands continued to trail up her hips over her waist, his mouth parted slightly, body trembling with restraint. Restraint where most males took and took when she offered it, gorging themselves on her. This is another one where I just feel like Dorian's being classy. Like he's number one, trembling with restraint. That Lorcan and Dorian be trembling everywhere. Yeah. But also that he doesn't take more than he, like he's trying to be considerate, and I just like that shit. I'm just into that. And then 576, Dorian says, "This was supposed to take the edge off." And Manon says, "And did it?" He traced her lower lip with his thumb and shuddered as she sucked it into her mouth, flicking it with her tongue. "No, not even close." You're not even close to being satiated?
Yeah,
Okay.
I like them. I like their dynamic because it's just more like it has a little oomph to it.
Yeah. Like and like the lovin' was so good that you're
You
not even
needed
close to being
more.
done. You needed way more. Hot damn. Okay. Okay. Um and then finally when Aelin is taken, and there's one quote, well, I'll do two. Sorry about it. Uh this is after she had been taken. Rowan on page 678 says, "Aelin had known, though, had that he was her mate, and she had not pushed it or demanded he face it because she loved him, and he knew she'd rather carve out her own heart than cause him pain or distress." Oh my God. Like, just it's heart-wrenching.
Yeah.
It's heart-wrenching. And then page 678, when he says, "His fireheart, his equal, his friend, his lover, his wife, his mate, that goddamn bitch had put her in an iron box." I don't know why, but like him claiming all of the things that she is to him,
Yeah.
it just made my heart hurt.
Yeah.
So those, among others, were my teehees. And I can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah, you had some good teehees for sure. And this book had ramped it up with the teehees.
Oh yeah, there was some content to work with, for sure.
Okay, so we're going to get into our therapy deep dive. So some of the psychological themes that we see in the part 2 of this book is we have, first off, the trauma, guilt, and the memory piece. So many of the characters Manon, Aelin, Elide, Lorcan are haunted by their past deeds of killing, loss, and betrayals. And these memories aren't just background, they intrude, they affect their decisions, hinder rest, and cause guilt. So these function as ongoing internal stressors, not things that stay in the past. So again, like they're not at a point where they're, processing the things that they went through. They're kind of in that survival mode. So a lot of those thoughts and kind of their past experiences are what is guiding them to make these decisions right now, for their
Mm.
safety. Then we have identity and moral conflicts. So, what does it mean to be a leader, a witch, a warrior, someone's heir, someone's subject, someone's lover? So, often
Mm.
the characters must choose between these roles that they inherited or that others defined versus roles that they define for themselves. So, Manon and Elide in particular are undergoing a lot of identity shifts. Um,
Mm.
in their character arc. Um,
Yeah. I this point, kind of, if I look at it on a therapeutic level, hints to me to some of the work that we do around languaging and like discourse analysis. So recognizing that people use different language to describe their experience, and what you are labeled or what you feel like you are labeled can impact people so much. And this is where even like the title of mate to Rowan, you can, and again, if you go back and you lock into it, you can see at various points both Aelin and Rowan know that it's there, that they're mates, and it's kind of in the background. But she refuses to say it, and he kind of refuses to acknowledge it. And it's a sort of ownership of an experience, or being able to name something or label it, that helps them to square with what that means. And I can think of lots of times as a counselor where having someone name something or put language to it was a big part in them being able to even feel it at all, or reckon with it.
yeah, I totally agree. And sometimes the name and like that process has so much impact in us recognizing it or accepting
Mhm.
it, and it's definitely very very interesting. Then we have attachment, trust, and vulnerability. So the relationship between Aelin and Rowan shows that they have trust, intimacy, vulnerability, and mutual support. Lorcan's evolving relationship to Elide and his feelings for Maeve also show shifts in his attachment style from guarded to more open. Like we see that he does start to develop more of a closeness to Elide, and the ability of like, caring for her. Elide learning to trust slash have boundaries. And I thought it was a nice quote to put here connected to that, where between Elite and Lorcan in page 490. And what do you know about love? Elite says, then, I think love should make you happy. It should make you into the best possible version of yourself. Here, I think Elite is spitting facts for sure. So I like that she's able to be able to recognize what love should look like, and know that the connection that Lorcan has with Maeve is not love. So
Mm, yeah. And recognizing that she can bring her knowledge to the table too, that she has certain experiences that have hindered her being able to have lots of different relationships, but it doesn't mean that she doesn't have some idea of what it might be like, or what she would like it to be like to love somebody. And it's again her kind of making a stand, which I like.
yeah, again, like she's like regaining her power and like being able to just like feel like she has a voice. So I love seeing Elite be able
Mm.
to do that. The next theme we see is power and control. So power in this part is emotionally costly. So like with Aylin's magic, like we see that she's using it often. It's draining her. Um, Manon's legacy. So obviously, like now she's figuring out who she is, how she's gonna like be a Croken queen. And then Maeve's demands. So obviously, like Maeve has these like blood oath and bonds where she's able to manipulate and really have a lot of power and control, unfortunately. So
Mm.
having the power means risk, where like power can harm other people and can overwhelm the person, like specifically with Aelin. And we have like the mirror, the word keys, and the lock are all tools or artifacts of power. And when using them, it comes with a lot of personal cost. So we definitely see that this is a big theme in this, I would say in the whole series, you know?
Yeah. It's interesting too in the therapy space. Power can be very comforting to people to have power over a situation or to feel empowered, and we work a lot with folks to feel empowered to make choices that work for them or to conceptualize things in their life in a way that works for them. And power is also choice. Power is having agency, and that can be challenging too. That if you are empowered and in control of the choices that you make, um that then the cost of those choices feels very close because you're the one that's leading that charge. And I will also say for folks who experience like systemic barriers or folks who are for whatever reason having their power or their agency stolen, um it can be very hard to exist under that kind of paradigm and recognize where you don't have power, where you may have had a life experience or been subject to something where you really didn't have a choice, and e- there's a devastation that can come with that too, and a healing that has to happen so that you can sort of gain that power back, gain that choice back.
Yeah, for sure. And even recognizing when you do start to recognize your power in the clinical space and, put in those changes in your own personal life. Like sometimes you receive pushback or difficulty if you're putting boundaries, if you're like being able to speak up about things that you didn't before, that can cause, people to be confused, people to wonder what changes you're going through, and that will
Mm,
definitely test you in like continuing to use that or make you stronger and believe that like no, like this is within my right now to continue showing that I do have a voice and that I'm able to make these decisions whether certain people like it or not. So it's
mm,
definitely a work in progress and it takes good amount of steps and treatment to get to that point where you can be able to start practicing those changes. So
yeah.
yeah, it's that's a lot of what we do too, is like being able to give the power to the clients, like you said.
Mm,
um and then we have sacrifice and uncertainty. So characters are constantly making choices where there's cost, like personal costs, relational costs, and physical. So
yeah.
uncertainty about outcomes are like looming because, especially with like the mirror, you don't know what was going to happen. So there was a lot of uncertainty, and especially now with like what's going to happen to Aelin, how will they be able to save her? Lots of uncertainty there. And it forces characters to develop resilience and to act despite fear.
Mm,
And I have another quote on here that was interesting between Adian and Lysandra, page 561. She says, "How do you do it? How have you learned to enter a battlefield with your bane and not fall apart with the terror that all of you might not make it?" And then he says, "You have no choice but to learn to face it. The fear of loss, it can destroy you as much as the loss itself." And I thought that was a
mm,
really deep quote from him, because at least in the counseling space, when we think of the real life situations, being resilient and developing resiliency is not a good thing because that means you
mm,
have to go through hard stuff to become resilient, to be able to grow through the trauma and the tough stuff that you've been through. So whenever I've heard like certain people say, we want them to be resilient. We want them to be able to go through things. And it's like educating, like, that's not usually a good thing, you know?
Mm.
So it's but ultimately, like, people, they do go through trauma, and in part of their healing, it's being able to recognize their strengths and their power
Mm.
that they had to go through those things and be where they're at now. And hopefully, like starting their healing journey, whether it's their first come into therapy, but it's recognizing that it's of what they went through and the strengths that they use to get through those things.
Mm. Yeah. I think for me, I like that you highlight the role of how we talk about resilience and the fact that I would just rather you never have to be resilient, right? Like, I would rather you just be able to go through your life and like live the best version of your life. And if there is something that we have to be resilient with, it's such a powerful thing to help people engage with resilience because maybe you have to because of whatever's going on, and also recognizing that rest can be resilience, vulnerability can be resilience, that you being able to feel your feelings and take a moment and stop is just as much about resilience as sort of forging forward and making it happen. Like, I think there are some very unilateral views of what resilience looks like, and I really appreciate that you bring into the space that it's like, we wish you didn't have to be resilient, and if you're going to
Yeah.
have to be, let it look multidimensional.
Yeah, for sure. So those were kind of the psychological themes that we were noticing.
Mm.
And now to kind of overview some of the more character development and internal change that is happening here. So with Aelin, grows in willingness to show more vulnerability with Rowan and with Manon, though obviously still burdened through like the choices that she had to make and like obviously her like foreseeable future.
Mm.
And she also is closer to accepting that her path may require personal sacrifice. Like, she knows what nameless is her price, and she knows that that's
Mm.
in order to save others and create this better world. Like, she's doing what she has to do. Manon edges away from her former identity as like purely Iron Teeth or air, and she's gearing towards more of a moral alignment where her choices are increasingly reflecting her conscience over obedience. So she's unlearning the things from her grandmama
Mm.
and
Grandmama.
she's
I like that.
unlearning what she learned from her evil grandma, and now like figuring out what that means for her being a Croaking queen, and like ultimately being part of like this new society that pretty much hates her. So that is something that I'm interested in seeing how that goes. With Lorcan, he's shaken by his loyalty to Maeve versus like what she is. So he begins
Mhm.
to question what his love means and like what that relationship looks like. And feeling drawn to protect a lead and others too, suggesting that he's opening emotionally and not being just like this ruthless like follower or like slave to Maeve. Um, and then we have a lead that gains strength and a voice. She refuses the rules imposed by others, the possession and returning to Morath, and increasingly asserts, I won't be someone's property, making the choices about who she trusts and how she identifies. So that's what we have going on with like the main characters. I mean, we have Adian, who's like Adian. He's like
Mhm.
such a crybaby. Like, I don't even know what to describe him as. He's just like
Mm.
he's having a tough time. Like, he's out of the loop and he's not doing well. He has his daddy issues, you know.
I Adian's another one I struggle with.
Yeah. I don't
He
see anything great about him. You know, in the beginning when he was introduced, I was like, "Oh, cool. Like, okay, what are we doing with him?" But
mhm.
now he's just not great.
He can't it feels to me like he can't see beyond the end of his nose and his own pride. There are bigger things going on here, pal, than you. And
Yeah.
yes, as we've talked about, Aylin's decision to not communicate is not great. She's trying. She's working on it. It's Mets a Mets. It's working sometimes and it's not. And no one is being quite so bitter or vitriolic as you are about that. Like, grow up a little bit. Grow up.
Yeah.
And also she's your queen. She's your
Right,
queen.
like why are
She
you
doesn't have
questioning
to
your queen? Like just
she
chill out, you know?
she doesn't have to explain a fucking thing to you if she really didn't feel like it.
Mm.
So I just, and not that I think Aylin's that kind of queen. Like, I don't think she refuses to communicate out of like some desire for, control. I think she tries to protect people
Yeah, it's just out of
with that.
necessity.
But it's he's sort of like throwing tantrums before he sees the full picture. And
He's like, "What?"
again, yeah, what's happening?
Yeah.
And again, if we have empathy for him, I get it. Like, I want to be able to make decisions in full knowledge of what it is I'm deciding to do
Mm.
and how I'm deciding to engage with the situation. And I think you can do that and you can explore that without being quite so hot-headed about it, without spouting off before you actually know what's going on.
Yeah, he has some growth to do, and I hope that in the next two books his like character arc is like stabilizing a little bit and just like figuring out what he wants to do, but not being so in the way of everything. So, yeah.
Yeah,
So that is
exactly.
our therapy deep dive for Empire of Storms Part 2.
Hell yeah.
And now we can get into future thoughts and theories, which are obviously only going to be from me.
I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Yarlin, what do you think's gonna happen?
Well, obviously I can already tell that I'm going to be so emotionally hurt by what's going to happen in the series, and I was really upset of what happened to Aelin. Like, after all this, her getting captured, and like, yeah, that I was just like, this girl has been through too much. Please stop.
Yeah.
So, and I've obviously seen a lot that the Kingdom of Ash book is like people's like that's like very emotional book. So I am
Mhm.
mentally preparing for how this will end.
Yeah.
And my theory is like somehow all the armada of men who came to fight for Aelin will somehow save her and fight Maeve.
Okay.
I hope that evil witch and
Mm,
not witch, but
mm.
I didn't want to say bitch, but I hope that evil bitch goes down. If I say
I'm like, say it.
well, yeah, because I was like, well, I can't say witch because technically there are witches in the book. So yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully she goes down how she should.
Oh yeah.
And then now finding out that Aelin and Rowan are actual mates, I'm done with the Sam theories. I don't see how he'll come up again in the series. Like, but obviously he's not going to be like a love interest because the mates are going to rule like that bond. So
Yeah.
I don't see that happening for poor Sam.
Poor Sam. Poor guy.
Poor guy. And I am so interested in seeing how Manon works with the Croken witches, how she's able to come up to be the queen. Like I'm really hoping that maybe in like the next book we get to see some of that. I'm sure obviously there will be. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to those things, and maybe everyone works together, bands together, and
Hell yeah.
saves Aelin, but ultimately she does have that, like she does have to die. So
Who knows? Who knows, dude?
yeah.
I do have a question for you. Do you know anything about Tower of Dawn? the book.
I don't know anything about it. No.
So I'm tempted to tell you something that you could figure out by reading the like back cover of the book. Like it's nothing that would be a huge spoiler.
Okay.
Do you want me to say
yeah.
it, or do you
tell me.
do you want to just find out on your own?
No, tell me if it's in the back cover.
So Tower of Dawn, and this is also for the listeners, like bail out now if you don't want to know anything about how it starts. But Tower of Dawn is from Kale's perspective.
No way. Okay. Yes. Right. He was gone for a bit, so now interesting.
Well, it's from Kale's perspective and it goes back in time.
Oh, am I gonna like that?
I don't know. But do you remember how we always talked about like there are people who say like tandem read?
Oh yeah. Oh,
the tandem read is with Empire of Storms and Tower of Dawn.
Oh.
So all of the events that unfold in Tower of Dawn are synonymously happening with the events of Aelin and crew. So I tell you this because I was sorely disappointed when Tower of Dawn did not pick up where it left off.
Oh, I got it.
That I wanted to know what was going to happen to Aelin, and you're not going to know that until Kingdom of Ashes.
Are you joking? like what the actual fuck?
I'm not joking. Oh. I'm so sorry.
Well, I hope I'm not disappointed. If not, then my star rating for Tower of Dawn will be very low. But maybe I end up liking it.
I will also say Tower of Dawn is one of my favorite books of the series. So, yep.
Because we don't really like Kale that much.
You're right. We don't.
At least so far in the series.
We don't. We don't. But the last 3 books of Throne of Glass are my favorite books, and that includes Tower of Dawn.
Wow.
But I half wanted you to just discover that on your own, and like I wanted to get a text from you being like, what the actual fuck? But I also was like, I kind of want to see you have that thought in person. I wanted to watch your reaction to that. So
well, I mean, I hope I like it because I don't know. I'm definitely going to be like pushing through it, but maybe I'm into it because I did like Kale in the beginning, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But then he kind of turned to be annoying. So we'll see. I'm open to see his perspective.
Yeah. I'm so glad I said it to you now and didn't wait for you to just find it out on your own. Yeah.
And because he's in the Torre Cesme.
So then
we'll learn about like the stuff that he was doing there and all of what he learned.
And he's in the Torre Cesme is in the southern continent, so it's like a lot of what's going on in the southern continent.
Got it. Okay, I'm open. I'm definitely disappointed that it's not like straight immediately to learn more about like Aelin and especially Manon. So
girl,
maybe that's why Kingdom of Ash is that impactful, is because it's like that is the ultimate of the ultimate.
I obviously can't say anything and I don't know anything, but
all right.
I'm so glad I just told you this right now instead of waiting.
Yeah.
Seeing your face be like, the fuck? That was my reaction when I cracked open Tower of Dawn first time. I was like, where the fuck are we and what's happening? It's a real gear shift.
I would have been so confused. I would have been like, are we sure this is the right order or what?
Yeah. So Be on the lookout for our next episode on part 1, Your Face of Tower of Dawn, where we're going to talk about all of our thoughts and feelings on that. Yeah. As some final remarks and reminders, if today's topics were in any way triggering or upsetting, please make sure to seek out individualized mental health treatment. And remember that this podcast is for fun. It's based on our own opinions and experiences, and it shouldn't be used for diagnosing, assessing, or treating mental health conditions. Our next episode, out on November 5th, will focus on part 1 of Tower of Dawn, the first half of Tower of Dawn. And if you'd like to support us or interact with us, make sure to subscribe and rate the podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Follow us on Instagram at Fae and Fables Pod. Email us at faeandfablespod@gmail.com. And we have merch. So if you want to support us through some merch, go to our link tree on Instagram and you can find our Etsy page. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you soon
Bye.
for Tower Dawn. Bye.